Hello and welcome to this video. We're going to be talking about information system in general. It's very important to understand what we mean by the phrase information system. So when we talk about information, we already know information is basically an output after we process data. So data being processed is going to get us information. So information has more meaning than data because it has, let me spell this one, so I'm going to go ahead and click the right button. Information has more meaning than the data because it went through the channel or went through the processing stage of converting the data from a raw fact state into meaningful output we call information. So it's very critical for us to understand that data is the input and information is the output. There's nothing easier than confusing those two terms due to the fact that we use them interchangeably in everyday's life. So information is the output that we pay so much actually in the real world, in the business world, in order to convert data from meaningless state into an informed state where we could make decisions very easily based on the amount of information that we gathered. I'm not going to dig into the side effect of information and the negative side, like information overload. That would be another lecture, but at this moment we need to understand that information as a term is very useful. It answers so much of our question, maybe not all of them, but it does answer questions such as when, where, who, and what. There are other two questions left for us to relate to later. It's called how, and of course the big question of why. Then when we talk about system as another term that we need to relate to very, very much, because that's part of the name actually of the degree of information system, we need to understand that system is two or more component parts. Not when we talk about components, parts, we're not talking about processes, we're talking about entities in the real world, objects in the real world that interact okay, with each other to serve a purpose, a function, a goal that we have in mind. So now we understand what we mean by information systems is the study that looks at how two or more components interact in order to produce meaningful outcome. We call it information that will help us to serve our business need. Of course, most of our business need is to make more informed decisions. It's a critical part of every business. No business will survive without having information to relate to everyday's activities, maybe, or no long range or mid range kind of planning. Okay, so what an information system is made of? Okay, what are these components? It has 6 major components. The first one, we must start with, let's say, hardware. We all understand what hardware is, the physical components of any information system. We must have the software, which is the instructions that tell the hardware what to do. And of course, we're not talking here on the level of a personal computer, but we're talking about the level of massive scale, maybe organizational scale or enterprise scale, where we have thousands of software, maybe enterprise resource planning, where everything is connected to one computer that people are actually dumping all sorts of reports and being able to really connect to the overall activities of the organization. So we're not talking about a single application like Word or Excel. Then we're talking about here data. Data is the juice that we have to really collect every day for any information system in order to get the information, as we stated earlier. Without data, we would never be able to really come up with a report that will help us to make or decide on the next step. Then also we have procedures, which probably we all know the procedure is basically those policies that we have to come up with in order to react to certain maybe events or certain processes or certain relationship, how to react maybe to a disaster recovery plan, or how we should troubleshoot something what is the process of doing it, who we should contact. A procedure is extremely important of any information system because it defines not only when something goes wrong, maybe also when something goes very well, how to keep track of all that activities and maybe store it into what we call a best practice log, where we can actually retrieve that type of activities maybe later for a better informed, again, situation where we could get the best type of output. Not the perfect, but the best or the optimal. Then we have people. We're not having only a single person here. We're having all sorts of people. We have the management, and we have the end user. Of course, we have now the IT. You need to distinguish between the management. We have lower management, and these people actually make decision based on short-term, very short-term, maybe day-to-day activities, maybe a week or a month, but they care about the transaction side of the organization. Then we have a middle management, which deals with basically the mid-range type of decision making, maybe like even a goal that they're trying to, and of course they are extremely important in an important position because they link the upper management to the lower management. So they need to be very, very literate in computers, and also they need to be very much business savvy. And of course the upper management, which is strategic side of it, this is tactical and this is operational. So the upper management is strategic, but they deal with also very long range goal, like maybe 5 years plan. So we do understand now when we talk about the people, specifically the management, we have varieties of management. Information system must satisfy the need of those type of management. So you will see a report that geared toward one specific type of management versus the other. So this is very critical also to know. If I go now into another, we go ahead and insert a blank one, so I don't have to delete this one here, but we need to go a little bit up. So good to see what I'm going to be typing here. Okay, and user are the people who use the information technology every day in order to do most of the service for our customers. These are the people who meet the customers every day, and they are the one who use the information system. So most of the time you need to be aware of the fact that the end user need to be policed first, because they are the one who handle the transaction, they are the one who really welcome the customer, and that customer satisfaction depends on how happy they are. Of course, there's a whole different aspect of dealing with end users and how to prepare them for that moment, but they need to be happy. They shouldn't really be looking at a screen of a color that they don't like or unpleasant for 8 hours a day, and you really force them to do that as a manager or as an IT senior. So make sure that you understand. Of course, with IT type of people in an organization, those ranges from programmers, or depending on the size of the organization, to all sort of position, from database administrator to network administrator to maybe like mid-level manager in the IT, or maybe the highest level that we know these days is CIO, which is the Chief Information Officer, the person who sees the overall operation of information technology and how it should be linked directly to the business mission. And when we talk about CIO, now we have different type of title these days, because we have CKO, which is the Chief Knowledge Officer, since knowledge is a different type of word from information, but they're all related. And when we have the last, which is number 6, I think it's going to be that communication. Communication is by itself is a huge part of how we really establish the relationship between those 5 components. Again, one more time, hardware, software, we're talking about the data, we're talking about the procedures, and we're talking about the people, and how we communicate among ourselves is a greatly important part of the components. All right, so these are the 6 components. If I ask a question, what are the 6 components that make up an information system? Obviously, hardware, software, data, procedures, and of course not and yet, because we have people and communication. I'm going to stop here because I don't want to really go over 10 minutes. I did go over 10 minutes. However, we're going to stop here and we're going to continue with another video.